Matt Lang Podcast, Tap Tempo.
Welcome back to Tap Tempo with me, Matt Lang. Thanks to everyone who came out to the Mousetrap show in Austin a few weeks ago. I ended up taking a couple days off, had a little mini vacation, and came back to LA feeling very refreshed. And in the days after that, I just hit the ground running and I finished the next EP for Calliope. So I'm super excited about it. I really think it's some of my strongest writing to date and strongest vocal work too. But it's important to me. And it probably, actually not probably, I had to finish it so that way it can be out in December. So that is the plan. Keep your eyes peeled for that and you'll hear me talk about it more because I'm excited about it. This week on Tap Tempo, I have Finishing Move. And Finishing Move is the production duo of Brian Trifon and Brian White. Their most recent project is the Halo Wars 2 score, which they're doing the whole PR run for it right now, and it actually just came out on a pretty cool limited edition blood red vinyl. So they came in, they want to talk about that. And also, they put out an instrument last year called Posthuman, which was a contact instrument, and it was a really beautiful, evocative kind of ambient soundscape generator. And I used it myself, actually. My track Clever Girl was the seeds of that were built like almost immediately from actually the first time I used Posthuman. So I guess, you know, it's a pretty strong endorsement right there. But they talk a lot about their career, how they got going together as Finishing Move, the struggles of doing what they're doing, the struggles of actually creating a software instrument. And we digress a lot into also just music and Burial in particular. We're all big Burial fans. So it's a good chat. So here's Finishing Move. You're hard for me to buy beer for.
He's a tough customer in fucking general in life. I think that's fair to say, right? I mean, Brian is a tough customer in life for anything and everything. That's what makes him special too. Is that he's particular. That's but that just means that whatever beer you buy, you're not going to please him.
Well, no, I mean, when we've gone to the brewery, down the street, he just always goes for the light, like the refresh or the whatever the light. You've gotten like the Hefeweizen a few times.
Because he's a little bitch.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I normally just drink hard alcohol, so it's kind of like the beer gives me a headache. So if I drink too many IPAs,
But the hard liquor doesn't.
Well, no, it's a clear liquor, clean living.
I don't believe that.
So I think it's just whatever you get used to, whatever you're pounding nightly, and
it's science, man.
Your brain just adapts to that liquid. And
when did you get into liquor?
Oh, probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I got into vodka first, and then I moved to gin because it's a little more interesting. There's kind of quite a few different flavors and botanicals that you can get going on, whereas vodka, there are differences, but
vodka's vodka.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when you get a little more adventurous with your palate, then the gin can actually be wildly different. So it's one of those things, a lot like beer. Like you can love some and then just totally hate some, and you can still be a gin drinker and hate certain kinds because the botanicals are so crazy different. I don't know. I just got into that the clear liquors and to just kind of stick to them, and
Are you a martini guy? What's your?
Yeah, pretty much just like
when you're at home
on the rocks. I mean, I guess you can call that a martini, but I'm just literally pouring gin on ice.
Okay.
So there's no vermouth,
no shaking,
no
stirring.
There's no twist or olive,
no bond.
100% alcoholism.
Yeah,
that's what there is.
Essentially.
Hey, at least there's ice to dilute it.
Well, the ice, I mean, you need some ice to cut it just to get it chilled. Because you don't want it in the freezer. Then you can't taste it. And you don't want it warm because it's kind of
Oh, I had something last night that you might like or you'd hate, but it was from Poland. It was 96% grain alcohol.
So like 96 proof or
No.
so what 180
192 proof.
192?
Yeah.
Isn't that like absinthe? Like
No,
that's
it's
No,
Everclear.
absinthe is like 50.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's like Everclear. They use it to clean.
This is stronger than Everclear. This was,
Jets.
Yeah, this was just like, I just took a little sip. It was just a taste, and it burned my mouth. It was an awful, awful experience.
That seems like something that like people in Russia would be into.
Yeah. Well, it's from Poland.
Okay, well there, yeah. I guess,
But
all right.
it was just handed to me. It's just like, here's the bottle. You should smell it, and then I should at least try to taste it just to know. And I definitely felt like this is the kind of thing. If someone put a lighter up to my face, I would have 3rd-degree burns for the rest of my
Fireface.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fireface.
RME Fireface. Yeah.
That's really how they came up with the name of that.
Yep.
Yeah. So you should get some of that. It's cheap. It's like $15 for a
I
bottle.
mean, I'm not really into the cheap drinking. I definitely want to have something where I don't have a headache the next day. So
yeah, but you could have one martini of this, not 4 of the other. Just one. You're done.
But then But then the issue becomes then you have 4, so you have to draw the line somewhere, of what you're drinking. But there's definitely like this. I have a system to where, there's the value jug drinking. There's a lower limit. Your
value jug,
your
like,
Beefeater or your Tanqueray is like that's kind of like your value pick. You can
like
get it on sale.
Costco or Bevmo, like giant bottle.
You can get the 1.75.
Okay. Yeah.
Around $20-$25 on sale, and then you can switch to that after your first premium one, where you're sort of not as picky. But I never go lower than that. I don't get into the Gilbey's or anything in a plastic jug,
Ted Danson's doing Smirnoff right now.
I mean, Smirnoff is not that bad for a vodka, to be honest. Like,
He sounds like Ted Danson.
it's not
There you go.
it's a fine well. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd drink it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd drink Smirnoff. I won't drink like Gilbey's or anything that's like the plastic bottle.
I don't even know what that is. Is that like plastic?
That's like the stuff like that, like old women will go
You get, like,
buy
the plastic
that
pint.
lost their taste buds,
Right.
and so it doesn't matter.
Hey, man, ignorance is bliss. That's a beautiful thing.
It's like unfiltered. Just you're gonna get a headache for sure. It's like buying like $2 champagne and then expecting to not have a headache.
Well, they don't call it champagne for nothing.
That's true. It's a good one. I've never heard that, but that makes sense.
Really?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's backtrack. Or actually, front track, direction.
Yes.
Yes. Your new game, Halo Wars 2, just came out.
Came out a while ago, but there's a DLC that came out recently.
It came out this year.
Yeah.
It came out this year.
Spring of this year, and then DLC came out in September.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then like the vinyl release with the blood red vinyl.
That was recent. Yeah.
Came
That
out-
just came
yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Double vinyl.
Yeah. And that's cool. And it's blood red.
Yeah.
Which
Super
is
cool.
Equally cool. So my first thing is because like you did this collaboratively with another composer and Gordy, right?
Yeah. Gordy Hab.
Yeah. And he is he's more traditional. And
Yes.
you guys are more modern.
Yes.
Or experimental, however you want to phrase it. So, minus, because, I mean, I saw the spiel you guys did last week at the Grammy party, which is, that's a different kind of environment. So, like musician to musician, how was it actually working with, because, I mean, you guys have a very tight partnership.
Totally. Yes.
And, you're like brothers at this point. So then basically inviting a third party into that fold, that's not easy.
No, but it actually was really good in this case, just because of personality match, which is actually kind of rare.
Okay.
But Gordy's like, he's just the coolest motherfucker, like in the same way that we are, and that he's like just down to earth, nerdy. Yeah, so like not
So
cool,
not cool.
cool because he's not cool, but he is cool because of that. Yeah, so it actually was really great, and it's like there's like not bullshitting about that. Because yes, like collaborating with people, especially when it's someone like at the beginning of the project, we didn't really know him.
Yeah.
Is a wild card and often can be difficult. I think we're actually both pretty we're pretty easy to work with. We try not to like cause problems and like step on people's toes. But it can be challenging to work with people. So it was actually really nice that like Gordy he's the same way, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's also that he's like, you know, we're comfortable with who we are as people and working and all that, and so is Gordy. And like, I think it's not like, I think there's problems when people are like they have something to prove, or they're like
he's a bit older too. He looks like he's in his 40s or
he's in his early 40s. And so I think it's just there's like nothing to prove there. I think it's also just because he's fucking badass at what he does. So there's nothing to prove. I feel like we feel very confident in what we do. There's nothing to, you know, we feel like we need to prove on our end. So it's like it works. It makes it easier to work.
And we're both sort of, both sides are, you know, very matter of fact in the terms of we recognize that in game development that it takes a village, and there's going to be compromises. There's going to be things that everybody just needs to come together on and agree upon and just do. And it might not be, you know, the exact way you would do your personal record like that.
Sure.
And so, you know, I guess the biggest thing in a collaboration, even outside of, let's say, just the composers on a project, especially when you're working on something like a game that just has so many stakeholders and so many people working on it, and you're just trying to make so many different people happy. It's always nice to see people that can kind of come together and they know when to go. Yeah, like let's, you know, okay, yeah, we'll do this. Cool. We're gonna get this done. We're gonna do that, and then we're gonna, you know, finish this thing, and then that's cool, and then we're going to get approval from these guys. Okay, they're happy, great. Like, we're going to use that, and not kind of turn it into this diva, like, well, you know, I want to totally just paint myself all over this project, you know, no matter what, and make life difficult for the entire team because of some
I think the thing is, too, I mean, with a game like that, you guys, really the work you're doing comes in towards the later part of the term of the game.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, we had a fair bit of time, partially because there was a delay. Like, it got pushed back a little bit. So we had, like, you know, it was like a year, more or less, to work on it, which is kind of a long time. So
yeah, that is a long time.
So it wasn't, you know, it wasn't too much of a time crunch for most of it, which was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, basically, I think to work on large scale games, you just have to be a team player. Like, even if you're not collaborating with other people, because you're collaborating with the development studio, and it's not like your vehicle to, you know, express yourself. It's the vehicle to try to make the best music that you can, you know, using this your skills and aesthetic that's going to work the best for the game.
Right.
And so I think people that survive in that world are team players, or they're just, you know, they get relegated to just doing less stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, can we backtrack way back, actually, now? Because I know, because just to, I guess, really the beginning of finishing Move, I remember you, Trifon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were working, I remember when you were collaborating with Jesper Kidd, I think, on, like, you were doing guitar things or guitar parts.
Yeah.
And then how did that ultimately turn into starting your own company, you know, collaborating with Brian White?
Sure. Yeah.
Doing the whole thing.
Tell the origin story.
Yeah.
So to speak. Yeah. So basically, all right. So after the first Triphonic album, Emergence, then I was just like, that was great, but I was broke as fuck. And so I started doing like session work and for Jesper Kidd, just guitar and some programming stuff. And that was back in like 2008, 2009.
How did he find you? Just he knew Emergence, or?
Yeah, and someone referred him to me, or vice versa. Someone referred me to him. And so I just started doing some sessions for him of like guitar and some like, synth and sound programming stuff.
Right.
And then I started doing sessions for other people in games as well. And that eventually led to Halo Anniversary, the very first anniversary of 10-year anniversary of the original Halo game, which was like 2010 or 2011.
Okay.
And that.
That's when they did the remix pack, because I was on that.
Or you did it, I thought it was Halo 4.
Or maybe you're right. It was Halo 4.
4.
You're right.
Yeah. So, so Halo Anniversary, then so the guy Paul, that's the audio director on for Halo Wars 2, he was this is before he worked at Microsoft. He was working on Halo Anniversary, and he hired me to like for that, to recreate the synth sounds of the original score. And I was like, okay,
sure.
So we did that, and basically that's how I started to get into games. It was like that process, doing session stuff, side stuff. Brian and I have been friends for a long time. Brian had hired me to work and teach Pro Tools. Like, this is years ago,
right?
When I was broke, and then we'd worked on a bunch of like commercials and stuff like that. We were kind of like hiring each other, and we'd gone through these various ups and downs together of like working on things and it just being like, okay, this is cool, but there's problems with this, and like hitting a wall as individuals working freelance of like, there's only so much you can do. And we realized that we have complementary skills, and just that if we teamed up and we started something and we actually like swung big, that we could take on bigger stuff. And that was the risk we wanted to take. And that's basically why we started the company.
Okay.
Am I missing anything? That's pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we started the company. I mean, I had spent like a bunch of years doing the commercial ad work thing, and then also just like doing the pop music grind, and then just like spending 2-3 years like cutting hundreds of tracks, and then like essentially just getting absolutely nowhere and kind of going like
running in the wheel.
How does one like, I'm not gonna buy a house or make a living, like doing one for 1,000, kind of thing. And that's kind of when it was, after kind of a long stint of, we had both worked on this like pop record with a friend down here, and I worked on it sort of more than Trifon did, because that was kind of more my vibe, was like the pop production and stuff like that. Sure. And spent like a year and a half and had a ton of tracks, the typical story, like, oh, this is going to be the single, this is going to be the whatever. And then like the artist, like in the 11th hour, like went to rehab and then like flipped out. And then the label like completely canceled the whole, like just literally canceled the whole record overnight, because they were like, this isn't going to happen.
Unreliable, it's over.
It's over. And then there's like a year and a half worth of work and promises
down the drain.
This is a low point for sure for both of us.
Yeah,
it was just like, but I think that was in some ways a bottom where we're like, we need to do something different.
We need to just like switch it up and figure out like, okay, what's a sustainable or a more sustainable path, that we can trace through the industry. And and the games thing kind of, his work on the first Halo Anniversary kind of dovetailed into a new opportunity on another game, and that's right when we sort of were forming the company. And that game we ended up working on, that game ended up getting canceled. So like our first big game that we worked on, like big AAA game with huge budget.
It was like new IP, like not an existing franchise. Big budget. We were like paired up with another, like an orchestral composer who's like a big deal guy that's like a huge TV, composer. And it was like, going to be this big deal for us, and then it got canceled.
Yeah, we recorded with a full orchestra at Skywalker and did the whole
that's so awesome.
Did the whole thing, and like it was a big thing, and then for it changed and it went in a different direction, and they said, okay, well, like we don't want this is kind of a funny, interesting story. They didn't want the original direction of the game, and they said, okay, well, we're going in a new direction. This other composer, he's great, but what we really want to do is we want you guys to do like dirty 70s garage rock.
Which is like, okay.
Right. That seems out of the blue. Yeah.
I mean, and it was kind of like, because for the other composer, that it kind of just didn't make sense at all as an orchestral composer. And we were just kind of like, whatever, we play guitar, so
yeah, we'll do it.
Fuck it. Like, let's do it. And then we spent a couple months recording, like 20, like basically like a full album's worth of
like 70s garage rock.
Kind of like punk garage rock. And I feel like that direction that the game took is what eventually got it canceled. Not our music, but that the fact that someone was like, yeah, actually we want to do like
just such a drastic change.
Yeah. And someone came and saw the result and was like, dude, I'm pulling the plug on this project.
Yeah.
Which, it kind of, we could tell that we
could tell that things were going off the rails.
Yeah.
So,
sure, but I mean, hey, it was work, and it was like
we got paid for our work that we did.
Yeah. Good exercise.
It didn't make the career, but you're covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good exercise and just like aesthetic and just like, I felt like if anything, it was like, can we do this? Yes, we can. And we did. Right. And it was good. And I mean, that part of it was cool, know? So, I mean, I think it's just it was an early exercise of just like, okay, we don't know what we're doing, but let's
go for it. I mean, I think it was also that, so prior to getting that project, when we first formed the company, like what we told ourselves is like, we had both done a lot of like subcontracting work, like working for other people, doing stuff for other composers, things like that, or for other producers, and we're like, we're not going to do any more of that. Like we're just going to only go for things where it's just like we win the project and it's ours. It's not through somebody else. And that was actually kind of a scary thing because basically all of our work, essentially the people that we worked with, we had to turn down. But sometimes it's the only way to like move forward. And I'm like really glad we did that. And in retrospect, like I'm still kind of surprised by like that was a little ballsy for us to do. Cause like there's people that just be like, well, why won't you still do it? And then our original theory is like, well, the way you tell people no is you just charge too high of a price, like an absurd price. And so most people they're like, okay, I can't, that's too expensive.
Yeah.
Then some people, they would still want to work with us for like ridiculous rate. But even then they fell off too. So it was like, it was a growing experience for us to transition from working for other people to just be like, no, we're going to do this ourselves. We're going to win these projects. We're going to aim big. And
I think it's easier to do. It was easier to do just as a team because you could sort of leverage your like joint skills. Whereas like one person might not feel secure in every aspect enough to kind of just.
And that's like I think, and you guys are a really interesting partnership because you're very complementary to each other while also being very different.
Totally.
But it's a very, it's a perfect union in a way.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like you guys aren't working in the same studios, for the most part. You're in your own studio spaces.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine you come up with an idea, you send it back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, so basically our specialties, like you're saying, are different, and as time goes on, it's like, you kind of figure out your roles that you're most efficient in. Mm-hmm. And so, for me, it's like coming up with sounds, musical sound design is really my biggest strength, along like with just sort of general aesthetic. I think both of our primary strength is aesthetic, being able to make good aesthetic judgments about things. And then specific strengths for me, it's like, it's it's designing musical sounds that have like an emotional quality and that are very unique.
You have a very signature
Yeah,
palette.
exactly.
Yeah,
and then, you know, but on the downside, I work kind of slow. Brian White, on the other hand, works really fast. He's very versatile, like, and really good with structure. And then also it's like his mixing skills just fucking decimate, you know, and especially mine. You know,
Right.
he's really great, has great ears. So,
Right.
Yeah, it's like, it's kind of, I think it's he's kind of got sort of like the wild mad scientist kind of ideas and approach, and then I'll kind of like, I have more collected thought that can rein that in and sort of
Calix and Tia are like that too.
distill it into something that, you know, essentially like where it's not just like out in the weeds forever. Like, oh, how can we like cultivate this into like something that makes sense?
Yeah, how we take all these random seeds into a garden.
Yeah, and make it and make it work and you know, from a sound design tip, it's really weird because I wouldn't consider myself to be sort of a sound designer like Trifon is definitely a sound designer. However, I tend to be the one that has like all of the ideas about how to make the sounds.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I mean, I don't know if you can explain it, but I'll come up with some kind of...
He'll have very creative ideas about sound or about things to try.
What it should sound like.
Well, just like he'll just have
like
some
approaches,
concepts. Like
to,
you know, what if you did something like this with some like, you know, some weird vocal sample? I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of a good idea.
You're almost acting a producer in that capacity.
Yeah, like
and you're able to execute it.
Like our instrument Post-Human, like I came up with the idea of like, well, because we were trying to create these like morphine sounds. Like it was like, you know, oh, should we gonna use the Kima system, or like how are we gonna do it? And I'm like, okay, well, what if we just did this and we used crossfading like sounds that you could morph between corners, and it was something we like kind of prototyped in, what was that synth you could kind of prototype it in
Alchemy.
In Alchemy, you could kind of prototype it. And so I was like, oh, you know, maybe that's cool, you know? And so we prototyped it in there and we're like, oh shit, like this actually like sounds more legit than any sort of like morphine synthesis or anything that actually...
It's super, I mean, like, cause I have a Kima system and can do like spectral morphing. I was like, you know what? Crossfading between these really good patches just sounds better than even morphing between them. And I was like, Brian had the concept of the instrument of how it should be structured. And that's kind of like...
Then we found a
scripter
a guy to like basically realize the like
Contact
what we
scripting
wanted, you know, in terms of, because it's in Alchemy you can do it, but it's kind of a complete pain in the ass.
That instrument's interesting to me because I know you guys have referred to it as basically a failure. But,
we're really, really proud of it. We think it's awesome. It just
commercially a failure.
It doesn't have the sales that we hoped. Yeah.
But that said, I mean, the most popular track off the Punish Me EP, Clever Girl, that started entirely because of Post-Human.
That's awesome.
And that was, you know... Just, you know, it's like you made this instrument where you could just hold out notes and the way it would evolve. I mean, it was really evocative. It was beautiful. And I think that's also just the nature of the game. I mean, what you discovered, and I didn't even know until you guys told me about it, was like how difficult the software instrument game is.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it's just... I think our expectations were too high. That was the thing, because like people, when we've talked to other developers, I mean, we've told them our sales numbers... They're like, oh, that's really
like,
good.
Oh, you're killing it. And it's like,
and we're like,
really?
Oh, yeah. So I think it's just we had unrealistic expectations of, and that's it. So it's not.
But that's coming. I mean, I think that's coming from the standpoint of most developers. They approach their products like you'd approach library music or trailer music or sound design. It's like you just
put out new stuff.
You're putting out as much as you can because quantity.
Pure catalog.
You want quantity, you want quality too, but you have to have quantity to make any money. And so you see all these companies, we talked to 8DO and stuff like that. And I mean, they were impressed by our sales, and he was like, that's great. And the way we do well is we have a lot of products.
Like
we're always
3 per week or something,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, or like 1 per week at least or something.
No, and then, who was saying 3 per week was Sharuz at Sample Magic. He was like, we're putting out 3 products a week.
And, they have a lot. Yeah.
And when you think about the numbers, like the numbers that we were able to do, and then you think about, multiplying that in that kind of scaled way, it's something that could make sense. However, I think it's a little bit the way we approach that instrument, and the way we would, sort of continue to approach instruments is more like we approach albums, where it's taking us
like
a year to
exactly. Yeah.
to put something together that we were proud enough of to put out. And it's like, that's just not going to get it long. Like we can't run a business.
You can't run that model.
Putting out one thing a year and then selling, a handful of them.
It was worth it. One, for like just learning a part of an industry. 2, having an instrument that's like we're really proud of.
It's a signature instrument. Yeah, that's cool.
Like, and we use it all the time. And then secondly, it's
you just got like the shredder fantasy of your own like signature guitar.
Yeah,
you just built it yourself.
Exactly. Well, and now what we can do is like, there's a bunch more sounds that we made that are not for sale that we have that are like
we can
awesome.
We continue to use.
We just use it as like a platform to make the sounds.
Of course.
And like continue to figure out like what are more things we can do with this that are better. So it's like, but at this point in terms of like value, like having those sounds privately and having that are really unique is more valuable than releasing it publicly, just because of just the profits aren't enough from it, to make it worthwhile. Because there's a lot of value in us just having really great sounds that other people don't have, So
did you guys recoup the cost of it at least?
Oh yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Like we did very quickly recoup the cost. It just wasn't as like profitable as we hoped. I mean, I think it's like I said, it was our
not for the amount of work.
I mean, costs in terms of like fixed costs, marketing and the GUI design and the website and all that kind of stuff. Those easily recouped. I mean, our time. Clearly, we feel that there's more lucrative uses of it, which is why we won't just spend a year making the instrument again. But I mean, I think I think the important lesson, and then we've learned this lesson a million times, but you can never skirt it, and at least in our experience, is that you can read about something, you can talk to people about it, and try to get their take on it until you actually like do something yourself. Like you really just don't know.
You don't understand it.
You just don't understand it at all. And it's crazy because you can try to fast track something and then think and you don't know until you actually do it and go, oh, okay, now I really do know how it works.
Right. Yeah, you lived it.
And that's, I mean, it's the same as all the lessons we learned, whether it's like, writing pop records or, working in commercials or doing trailer music or sound design, things like that. There's all this kind of, if you look at it from the outside, there's assumptions I think people will make about, whoa, how much money can you make, or how much this, or what's the success rate at that? And someone could give you some anecdotal evidence, and then you do it yourself and you're like, oh wow, this is like
it's just different,
completely different.
Yeah. Not what I expected.
Not what you expected at all, and you just don't know until you know.
It's like, I mean, but the lesson is like, you have to dive into something to just understand it, and it's okay, because it's like there'll be aspects of it that work out better than you expect, and a lot of things that work out a lot worse. But once you go through that, then you have that knowledge, and that helps a lot. And so I'm like grateful for a lot for our misadventures, because they've all had plus sides too. I don't think there hasn't been many failures that didn't have some kind of plus side. I think
like
in terms of learning.
abject failure. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we should think about examples of
Yeah, I was
just
like, what do you think
complete failure?
What's the best example of a total just like obliteration of a dream that actually turned out for the better?
I mean,
I always wanted to do one that was just like there was no better.
there is no better.
It was just
right.
it was just depressing and dark.
I think pop music was just depressing.
Yeah.
I think it was just more of, so the only silver lining in that was just knowing that. And like, so being able to move forward with your life, knowing that like, yeah, this world's not for me. Like, this world's not for me. I don't want to be a part of it.
You learned that one real quick.
Yeah.
Just knowing how it works, because you just don't know how it works until you do it. And I mean, it's always like, you know, I think a lot of people dream about, oh, I'm going to, you know, like produce and write this. And it's maybe there was an era that was better, you know, back when people, you know, could be in the studio and make records and they'd sold records and you could, you know, make a profit off of that. But yeah, I mean, these days it's just like I didn't understand until I started writing in that world, you know, actually writing on records that were like records for big names on labels that you knew about. Like, you're like, oh, wow.
Major label things.
Like, oh, man, you know, definitely want to get a cut in for this person, do that. I didn't know until we started working in that realm and actually being able to cut records for these different artists and things like that, that there's going to be like 200-300 tracks that get fully just recorded and done. And that was like then. I feel like now it's like fucking 500 or 600 or 1,000 or something crazy.
I mean, I'm sure it's probably pretty similar.
It was high. I didn't realize that, you know, because you kind of come from when you originally think about making music. It was like 90s era or 80s era where it's like, oh, there's a producer and he's like working on every track.
It's like, okay, they stick you with a top liner and you and the top liner write this thing and then it gets pitched to whoever the artist is and then you hope.
And they might even, I'm saying like the artist will cut the track and they might cut.
Oh, wow.
100 of those.
Yeah.
Or more, you know, because they're
that
coming
seems like
into
a waste of their time to me.
Yeah, but the label has them coming into everybody's studio, you know, like you know, they kind of spend a week here, spend a week there, and they'll have a team. Like we worked as part of a team. So just like I was doing music, not top line, just like music beats, if you will.
Right.
And then the top liners would work with the actual artists.
Yeah.
They would come in and they would write top line and they would cut the records and they just do a ton. And then they would pick like 15 out of the whatever 100, you know, and now, I mean, it's like, if you work in this industry, you know, that's just normal shit, you know, it's basic, but not like most people don't know that.
But people don't know that that's actually how it works, at least in that sphere of the music business.
Or that there's tracks that got rejected by an artist that end up being a hit
for another artist. I love that when that happens.
Yeah.
People don't realize most people still think that like the artist wrote the song and it was their song and it wasn't like this thing that was chucked into a machine.
Right. And then recycled. Yeah.
Recycled trying to, and I mean, I get it. If I was, you know, like, still in that game, I mean, when we were like, you're definitely reusing tracks and
of course you
top lines. You're like, how can I?
Yeah, I mean, but you end up liking a lot of the stuff you do also.
Sure.
So the fact that someone just, you know, poo-pooed it away and it's just sitting on a hard drive and it's gone to the world, of course you're going to resubmit it. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, and that's that concept goes beyond just
we do that all the time
you know, you do
with other stuff.
With like,
too.
you know, if you're pitching on anything, like, and you have something that's good and it's not used for anything, then, well, find it use for it somewhere else. Like, it will always, pretty much everything that you do that you like somewhat has a place somewhere where it has value.
And you have to, you know, the context of it too is different because it's not music for yourself. The context of this it's basically client work. You know, I wrote this for a specific purpose for this person.
Right.
So you don't have the me so much attached to it.
Sure.
You know, you can, if it goes to Lil Bow Wow over Kanye West.
I think
it's just Paperboy.
I think it's just Bow Wow now. I think the little
he's not Lil anymore.
is dropped.
He's still pretty little.
But I'm pretty sure it's just Bow Wow now.
Isn't he the one who did like the skateboard song, Push, Push, Kick, Push, or whatever?
I mean, yeah, but I think once he was in like Fast and the Furious 3, it just became Bow Wow.
Yeah, but he's still little.
But I don't know if
maybe
goes by.
he's little in stature, but not age anymore. So that's how
but
he's
no one
judging.
calls like Dwayne Johnson Big Rock.
I don't.
But he never had like
He
never had a prefix. Like he wasn't like Little Rock at any point.
No, that's in Arkansas, but and like they're not Southern.
Yeah,
actually, Lil Bow Wow might be. He might be Atlanta. I don't know.
Lil Wayne is still Lil Wayne, and he's like 35 or whatever.
Yeah. He's older than that.
36, 37. I don't know.
He might be pushing 40.
But he's little in stature, right? Like he's short.
It's fun. All like a lot of that the Southern hip hop urban music. They all have these like Lil Uzi is another one now.
Yeah, Lil Vert.
Lil Vert. Like
yeah, they're great.
Young. There's Young is another one.
Oh yeah, Young Chop. He's fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
Lil Young.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's great. I think we need to have more names like that. It's just we're not cool enough to have that yet.
I went down a 90s hip hop. I went down the 90s hip hop abyss the other night, and suddenly it turned into listening to like Nas and Mobb Deep.
Skilo.
No, I didn't do Skilo. I did Pharaoh Monch.
All right.
Simon Says Get the Fuck Up. Yeah, that
Nice.
took me right back to like being in the school bus going to play soccer.
Nice.
That was a good moment for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it reminded me of Lil Kim because
I think Lil Kim is still Lil Kim.
She's still Lil Kim. I don't know if she's doing music anymore, but I was just thinking because I listened to All About the Benjamins off the Puff Daddy record.
Yeah.
And man, that took me back.
Yeah, that was good stuff. That was
and
like
then
some
just to
8th grade
compare-
dance or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like so then I put that up. I was like, I had to know. So I take that and I was listening to that and like Nas it was written and just going through like my New York hip hop genes basically. Yeah. And so I was like, I have to know. So I go on like the USA Top 50 on Spotify.
Yeah.
3 songs in. Oh, I just they need to go back to using an MPC. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're not into the mumble rap. I kind of like it. Like Migos, like I think are doing the most legit
It
music.
just sounds so lazy, but then the lyrics are like pussy, 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 and it's like what?
Yeah, I mean, it's but like I will like so. Not everything is great. I'm not really into Fetty Wap. That's not my thing. But like Migos, that I really like. I think they're onto something that's really artistic, and it's like part of it's in the flow, part of it's in their like analogies. It's just the music's really cool too. I'm kind of into it.
All right.
So yeah,
I mean, I think it's like it feels like
they mean it.
I mean, like jazz in its heyday, where you could, before it was distilled down into academia and a bunch of people went to school to learn how to do bebop flows.
Yeah.
It feels. I mean, even if it's janky and it's weird, or if like the lyrics are sort of sound like they were written right there in the studio, to me it still feels like these guys really believe what's going on right now when they're rapping to this flow. Like they truly believe that your computer is maybe crashing right now.
It's happy.
No, but they have this. I don't know. It oozes through the record that it's like, oh wow, there's no like fakeness coming out of this. Where it's, I think in so much music, just in so much just sort of like whether it's media or just social interactions in general, they feel very engineered in this day and age. And something about some of those like Migos and similar stuff like taps into this, like, it's like those guys really believe what they're saying in this, whether it's true or not. Like,
but that's the thing I wonder is like, do they actually believe it or is it just sellable?
I feel like they really believe it.
Did they drink their own Kool-Aid?
I don't know, but it just,
I don't think it matters.
It comes across as like feeling authentic, like that it's not, it's like, it just doesn't seem like it's contrived. And that's what I like, what I listen for in music is like, Is there an essence here of like something that feels like the person who's doing it, like that it was some kind of truth to them, even if like the story of what they're saying is not real, or if it's exaggeration, or it's just like a thought, but like that's still valid. I mean, even if it's like fiction.
So the thing I battle with, though, like in the context of that, is that I can't figure out, is it contrived or not, or are you just fucking dumb?
I mean, they're definitely not dumb. It's like it's very like, because the way the flow and like the wordplay is like, I think it's pretty brilliant.
Just like urban music with that.
Yeah.
I mean like, listen to like the new Taylor Swift record, the "Look What You Made Me Do," and like that, just like that's a media grab.
Okay,
to me,
well, so Taylor Swift's new album, like I'm just, that's not my thing. Like to me, that doesn't feel like there's like that essence there that grabs me, that feels real.
So it's funny, like, so my dad loves 1989. Is that
that's the album.
Like, loves it, and like tortured my mom
the
playing
last
that record.
one.
Yeah, the previous one.
Yeah, the last big one. Yeah, and like he loves it. And I listen. I mean, I really love the track that Imogen Heap produced on it. The last one, "Clean," is like brilliant. I think it's the best Taylor Swift has ever sounded. Quite honestly, you know, I think she's a really talented artist.
Oh, totally.
I think she needs new material. Yeah, and new material that doesn't come from a new boyfriend. But
yeah, I mean, I think that, I don't know. I don't think that she's making the music that's like vital, that has something that's like, that's, I don't think it says real.
Anything.
Yeah, I agree. So
and I think especially in these times, which, you know,
some people don't want anything. Some people want to go to Cheesecake Factory and just go ham
it's
on
the premium mediocre. It's the Cheesecake Factory of music, and that doesn't mean it's bad.
And that's what's getting pushed right now. I get it, but like,
sorry for the people
by Cheesecake Factory.
Sorry for the people that like Cheesecake Factory.
No, but I really feel like, you know, we need to go back to almost like 1969, and like we need the artists who are going to say "fuck you." Because it's not cool to say that anymore because of the fear of the repercussions of what you say. Or
well, I think it's just that the mainstream of music for the most part is just, it's not where like interesting things are happening. I think other than some,
it certainly doesn't push any boundaries.
Yeah, other than some rap music, which I think is doing some interesting things. But other than that, I feel like it's just, you know. But there's this huge underground of music that's bigger and better than it's ever been.
Sure.
Unfortunately, it's not like sustaining people's living. No. Like, but it's like there's so much good stuff. It's just like hard to find because there's like just an enormous amount.
The noise floor is so loud.
Oh my god!
That's just the killer of it.
That's the
noise floor of competent electronic music. TM.
Not even just electronic.
Yeah.
I mean, all music, just the sheer accessibility of being able to record anything. Anyone can be a recording engineer at this point.
Yeah.
Consequently, and now anyone can release their own music via digital distribution, Bandcamp, TuneCore, whatever. Like,
yeah.
There are no gatekeepers anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, now the ultimate gatekeeper really is the Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
And that
seems like there's some payola going on.
Well, of course there's payola going on. All the majors now have people who are Spotify, like they have careers just to be Spotify playlist playlist submitters.
Yeah.
Or what, I don't know what the term for that is because I don't work at Universal, but you know, like they have people.
I mean, it's not all payola though. I mean, like, because I mean, you have tracks on Spotify playlists. I do too. Yeah, like, and it's like that. And for at least for me, there's fucking nobody behind it. So you know, but like, I'm sure that there also is like there's paid people or people pitching really hard.
There's a PR engine behind it. I mean, whether it's actually direct paid or not.
Well, I mean, and of course, remember all the majors own equity stakes within Spotify themselves, so there is a little bit of back and forth going on.
I mean, the bottom line is that there's no longer a climate where you can release a great track and it just sort of naturally it will die on the vine if there isn't.
I don't think, I mean, to be fair, I don't think that ever really existed. I think every great track that we know, even if we're being nostalgic about it, that like we heard it because of some sort of payola, some sort of promotion behind it.
Oh, sure. I mean, I think early internet, there were some outlets that kind of like they sort of made it more of a meritocracy, but then that quickly closed back down again as everyone kind of figured out.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
this is the way forward.
I mean, because think about some of the early artists on the internet, like whether it's Joel or Deadmau5 and or our friend from Periphery. You know, like they kind of Misha. You know, there was these sort of early forums, Reddit or things like that, and
the 7-string guitar forum or whatever.
I just remember because Misha was on the Harmony Central forum. Posting all the bulb stuff
and posting his stuff, and you know, like that. There was like that early, you know, Deadmau5 was posting early MP3 stuff to the internet, and that kind of. There was a bit of a vacuum there at the time where people weren't really using the internet as much for like music discovery as now. You know, it wasn't this like totally monetized thing like it is now, where it's all everyone's in their castles and vying for you know, shares. I think there was a brief window where it was kind of cool, and you could kind of, if you had really great stuff, you could sneak in.
Yeah, because there was less of it.
Because there was just nothing out there that was great.
Simple as that.
And you could sneak in and kind of build something up from there. But now I think if you were that same person today, like let's say any of those guys were starting right now making great content, you definitely would need some sort of artificial or PR support.
It would just be a lot less likely, I think.
To get naturally, organically discovered.
I mean, I think even with like, if I started Triphonic now and just, you know, like self-released like I did and was able to get some traction, you know, like back in 2008, I don't think I'd be able to do that now. Like if I was just starting out, like, because there's just the noise floor is higher and it's just...
What did you do anything in particular back then?
No, I didn't do shit.
I remember because I remember you MySpace messaged me.
I'm sure I did.
No.
Yeah.
So this is funny.
Yeah.
You might not remember this. So this was, must have been February of 2008.
Yeah.
So you MySpace messaged me, and it's like, hey, I saw you're a fan of Telephone Tel Aviv. I just released, you know, my new album. You know, please check it out. It was something like that.
Yeah.
And I had just gotten hired by BT.
Oh, wow.
So I wrote back to you. It's like, I already have your album. I know this because Josh Decker, you know, I mean, you guys knew each other from working on Look.
Right.
He had told me of your music, you know, long before you ever messaged me. So I had Emergence. And so I wrote back, you know, like, dude, I have this. Yeah. And then I remember your response like night and day, like, congratulations. Do not bring me up to BT.
Yeah. It's like, unless you want to get chastised. Yeah.
I remember that very clearly. But
no, but for promotion or whatever, it didn't do anything just because just didn't have the resources at that point to do it. And, you know, but I guess it took the promotion that happened was that Hybrid found it. They loved it.
Oh, they put it on
they
sound
released
system.
it. Yeah, they released it, and that sort of put it on the map. So it's like, I guess in some ways that is promotion. It's like if someone else finds it and they're pumping it, then like that's
but there was like
it.
100 times less stuff when they found it
as
there is now,
even
or
higher
1,000.
ratio than
It's
that.
like the amount. I mean, as you were saying, the tools
Ableton
that
Live
have come
hadn't hit
out,
yet.
you know, really allow people.
Ableton Live 2 at that point.
It was like 1 or 2. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it allows basically anyone to make like competent electronic music with very little. I mean, it all kind of sounds like, this sounds like, you know, if you want to make a track like Marshmello, you can make a track like Marshmello if you want to. But none of it sounds like, oh wow, this is like really, I hear an original voice coming through this, but it's just, there's so much like copycat material that just floods the market. Easy. And sometimes I wonder if that even feeds kind of the wrong audience message, because then it's just people going like, oh wow, that's so, love that.
And then the thing is too, what I feel like what it does, it conditions the audience to expect new music all the time. And it devalues it so intensely. Yeah. Because if every major artist they're listening to is basically replaceable, but they're releasing between, you know, the 10 they listen to or however many, there's a new track every week. Yeah. It's rinse and repeat.
No, it totally.
You know?
I mean,
and it's a similar track. Like you're getting the same.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's just
hook, the same sounds.
That's like the people that imitate Burial. Like, and it's like, and some people do it so well where it just sounds like an old Burial album where it's kind of like, oh, well, I guess Burial doesn't need to release a new album because I can listen to this like rip off of it.
No one sounds like him though.
No, not even close. I mean, like.
Your beats have to look like a fish hook,
exactly. Yeah,
or a fish bone.
We have a theory that Burial, so I'm not religious at all, but I think Burial might be Jesus. So that's
second coming.
Yeah, that because that he's like the only, and I might be wrong with this, but I feel like he is the only person who is not sold out in any kind of way. He doesn't play live shows. He doesn't license his music to anything. He's not trying to spin his huge platform and his huge.
He's not on social media. He's not your bud on Twitter.
Yeah, he's not
he
trying
puts
to
out one EP every 2 years.
Yeah, he's not trying to Twitch with you and be your best friend. He doesn't have. He's not up on Instagram with the social media game. I think he's the only, this is a bold statement, but he's the only true artist that's alive, that still exists, that's a young person that in that area and that hasn't sold out in any kind of way. And that's that's a miracle in this day and age, because I don't think he's reaping the benefits that he could. I mean, he must have made money off of Untrue. I mean, I'm sure, but not a ton.
Not
because he's not touring.
Yeah. So it's just, he'd be getting, royalties from sales, which I'm sure were I'm sure it's decent, but it wouldn't be a lot. It wouldn't be days. Bless you. Yeah.
If you're in the cats with those sneezes.
Yeah, that Burial Jesus spirit.
Gonna bury them. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, man, but that's why I have so much respect for him.
Yeah. I mean, that album, my God.
Yeah. There's a really pretentious Pitchfork article about how it's the best or most important electronic album of this century so far, and I completely agree. They write it in a very flowery.
Your Facebook commenters don't agree. Most of the time.
Yeah, people don't necessarily agree with me on that, but I think
out of curiosity, what did they say?
Oh, well, some people agree, but some people are well, I like Burial, but is it really that good or that important? I'm
it's wrong.
Yeah, it's wrong. I mean, you have to think about the context of of when it came out, and then so how different it was. And then the amount of influence it had, and
my God, yeah.
And then how accessible it is, and it's emotional and it's simple. I think it's like any of the great, the analogy that I would say is it reminds me of Aphex Twin's influence in the '90s, where he came out of seemingly nowhere, where there's not a clear lineage to Aphex Twin. Because he just leapfrogged and just was better, but it's also as weird as an experimental as it is, it's just very musical and it's very accessible. A lot of Aphex Twin, his stuff it's emotional, it's accessible, it's not that hard to listen to, but it challenges the listener in that there's new types of sounds and forms and things like that. And Burial is the same way, where it's it's accessible. It's not that.
I would say Burial's more accessible than Aphex Twin.
Oh, definitely. It is. And it's also more restrained and less self-indulgent. And
it's a lot sexier.
It's I mean, this.
I'm never gonna put on
you aren't gonna seduce your lady
to window liquor
with window liquor,
right?
Yeah.
Unless
it's a very special lady.
You can play girl boy song and be like, how cool is that? And their eyes roll in the back of their head and whatever.
Yeah.
But you can put on Etched Head Plate off of, Untrue and listen to that bass.
Yeah. No, I mean, true. It has to be kind of like a somber girl, but I feel like that's your style.
There have been plenty of non-somber girls who then became somber girls
because they listened to Burial. Yeah.
No, but actually, that's one of my favorite gifts to give people. Is that album?
Yeah, totally.
Actually, yeah, probably like the first really, really serious girlfriend I ever had. One of the first things I ever gave her was that.
And she liked it?
Loved it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's definitely people I've played it for. And even my fiance Sandra, she's like, I like this, but like, what are those weird baby voices? Like, I can't get that just like bothers them, where it's like, what's that weird baby singing? I was like, yeah, it is kind of a weird baby, androgynous baby, but like, that's why I like it. That's why
I never even thought of it as
Ray J
androgynous
chopped. It's like Ray J chopped and screwed or something.
It sounds like an androgynous.
It's pitched up, not pitched down. You know,
it's like it's an androgynous baby singing, and it is true. If you think of that imagery and listen to it, it's less sexy. Like it's like if you imagine
He pitches him down. He's the holding.
Well, there's both. He pitches it up and down, where it's like, you hurt me. But it's like some like weird, some like baby, androgynous baby.
We should just do like we should just do a cappella burial.
That's how the episode ends. You hurt me
because you lied.
I mean, I feel like that there's someone on YouTube that's doing beatbox acapella burial. I bet if you search that, someone's already doing it,
dude. Because that would be really hard to
think of something.
I don't think anyone could beatbox burial.
Somebody could.
I'm just saying.
I think it's possible.
Let's put that out in the universe and see.
I remember that interview he did where he's like, "How do you know when your beats sound right?" Because he wasn't using a proper sequencer. He was doing it on like
SoundForge.
Right, SoundForge, where there is no actual like quantization.
Like no grid,
There's no grid. It's just it's a free-balling audio editor. Yeah. And his thing was like, I keep reprocessing things until my beat looks like a fishbone.
Yeah.
Which is like the funniest thing ever. But you visualize it, at least, if you're a fucking nerd and like, oh, that's what beats look like. And it's like, oh, I get it.
It does. It looks exactly like that. Yeah. It's amazing.
Why not?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, and then didn't you have to like in SoundForge? I think the only way you can multi-track is by consolidating down. Mm-hmm. There was no there's no multi-tracking. Mm-hmm. You just have to like keep consolidating the song.
Yeah, it's a straight like stereo 2-channel audio editor,
and you're just like,
so you have to reprocess and add something and then reprocess.
Yes,
I love it though. He just like he figured out a workflow and. Yeah, and like it works, and it's funny. Like a friend of mine, the drum and bass artist Rezo, he was telling me that Burial had approached him to help him with a remix to like show him like a DAW, to teach him, and so he was like showing him, and it was just like Burial's just like, this is not happening. Like this is just too could not wrap his head around didn't like that workflow of working in a grid.
I need my fishbone.
Yeah, that's his vibe. So I was just like, man, that's legit.
But I wonder if, because the newer stuff he's put out since then, it's been more 4x4, and I wonder if he discovered the magic or demystification of the sequencer.
Maybe, yeah.
And I feel like his music suffered for it.
That's possible. I think he's just doing a different direction, mainly because it's like enough people have imitated his old stuff. He doesn't need to do that. And it's like, I think, I don't know. It's a little hit or miss with the EPs. Like there'll be moments that are great.
He's got nothing to prove anymore.
No. He's already he's released what I'd say are 2 masterpiece albums. Fucking 10 out of 10, you know? 11 out of 10 with Untrue.
Absolutely.
So it's like there's nothing to prove at that point.
Right. No, he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the legacy lives on.
Yes. Indeed.
I credit him entirely for my love of sub bass.
Yeah.
That is entirely because of Burial.
Totally.
100%. I was into I was into drum and bass, but I didn't get into Reese's.
Yeah.
Until honestly it was Etched Head Plate.
Yeah.
And just the way that Warbly 106 went up and down. It was oh my god.
Mouth Burial.
Yeah.
I mean, he just sampled those off of some old house records, right?
Probably.
He wasn't making Reese's.
He's not a sound designer. He it's like collage, but he does it so brilliantly that I mean,
and he filters them way down so it's real classy.
Yeah,
it's super, got that classy,
it's super classy. Yeah, I mean, I kind of I feel like it's like, so like DJ Shadow in the 90s where it was, and like Amon Tobin where it was all like collage music. And that's when, at least with DJ Shadow, that's when he was at his finest, doing that.
Yeah.
And that's a fucking art form, man. And so I feel like Burial sort of picked that up, but he's doing it in like the more modern, classy sort of way, like less like turntablism kind of thing. That DJ Shadow can get.
Well, I don't think he was ever really a DJ.
Burial, no,
I don't think so.
No, I think he's just like.
Has he ever played a live show?
No, I don't think he's played any live shows.
I don't think that's ever happened.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really kind of crazy that he's never, not even like some like high school dance.
Yeah, but if he did, then that would have revealed his identity.
Yeah,
well,
but now he could have played. I mean, he could have played one show.
But I mean, like, I think he kept the mysterious thing going until like 2011, 2010.
Yeah, well, it was because some newspaper was going to like out him. So he came out first.
Yeah, he's like,
I'm Sean Beavan or whatever.
Yeah. It was like his high school photo or something.
Yeah.
Well, everyone thought it was like Aphex Twin, right?
Or they thought it was,
like Fat Boy Slim.
Yeah, they're like Norman Cook
like,
or Richard D. James. Is like, there's no way. It just doesn't sound. There's no characteristics.
Nothing like them.
Yeah, that's some like silly
fake news.
Fake news. Sad. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the British tabloids.
Yeah, but man. Yeah. So Burial, he's Jesus.
Well, here's the question: do you think so? If Burial did play one show, do you think? I mean, we like him, but do you think he could like sell out Madison Square Garden, or do you think it's like the world's too sad?
No.
That wouldn't.
I just don't. I don't think there's
Jesus couldn't sell out Madison Square Garden.
He couldn't sell out Madison Square Garden, but I bet he could sell out the Fonda.
Sure. Oh yeah. I think he could play a pretty decent sized venue, but not like some stadium venue.
But that would just be like my fantasy. Like he would.
Oh, I mean, my fantasy would be he plays like Coachella,
a show like one.
See, I don't want to see him in Coachella.
Well, no, neither do I, because then he wouldn't be Jesus anymore. So.
Well, no, but then it's just like it's diluted because there's so many people there. They're different stages. Like Burial, you want to see him just in like a dark, sweaty sewer of a club.
Yeah, like maybe he does play shows like underneath the freeway in like a hobo alley.
In a tent.
At McDonald's.
Yeah.
Touche.
There you go.
Yeah. Untrue.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, shit. To wrap this up.
Yeah.
Since you're partners, this is going to be your favorite question of the night.
Okay.
What do you hate about each other?
I mean, hate's a strong word.
What do you dislike?
Okay.
Strongly dislike.
I mean,
what is the biggest roadblock?
All right. So I'll diplomatically, I'll put it that, because with any of these minuses come pluses. So, Brian is he's very, very particular, and he's very blunt in his delivery. Mm-hmm. But, then the plus side of that is he communicates clearly, and he's very discerning and has good taste. So there you go. Now I'm putting a plus to that minus.
Tony Robbins would be proud.
The Tony Robbins. Yeah, I mean, I totally own up to that. I mean, I know, like, I'm old enough and have been in my skin long enough to know that that's my personality and it's not going anywhere. And that's, I mean, that's a fair observation. I would say, I guess I don't know. Let's see how could we spin it into a positive? No, I'm just going to hit it with just like
you're not that person. Don't spin it.
Yeah, I guess you're. So, like, he'll fucking not.
Here we go.
So, his memory.
Not true.
Untrue.
I don't know. So here's the only way I can spin it into a positive, and this is going to sound like really fucking narcissistic and like tooting my own horn. But so his memory is total shit when it comes to like. What he's told me, like a story or something like that. He will literally tell me the same fucking story. Like, I've heard every one of his stories, first of all, and I've heard every one of his stories 500 times.
It's true.
And I don't know if it's just that I have a better memory than most people he's telling his stories to. So like he can continue to tell the same story from like 10 years ago too, or when he was in high school. But I remember all the stories, but it won't stop him from telling it like he's never told it before. Like, it's not like, oh, you know, you heard that one time when it was, no, it's like he'll tell it fresh when we're alone, not in a group. He'll tell it like I've never heard it. And I tell him, I'm like, I've heard this shit like
he's like, tell it again,
times. Bro. That's it. I mean, that's probably like the biggest.
That's easy.
But it's not that big of a deal. So it's not a deal breaker.
He also, Brian has. I mean, it's true. I'm like my memory is not fabulous. It's not fantastic. It's
well,
just
you're the wacky artist.
Yeah,
he keeps you in check.
But he also has like
I'm the one who smokes the dope. I don't understand how.
But he has like
It doesn't have anything
he
to
has
do with
a
it.
photographic memory, and it's like and
So that's why I'm saying it could be that like other. So it's like I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but I do remember like every story, every little detail of a story, and so. For most people, I bet it's like they don't remember. It's like, wow, I don't remember a story that this dude told me, but I'll remember the story, and then it'll get told,
yeah,
a million times.
That's the cross you have to bear for the burial of Jesus.
Finally, since your finishing move, you're in Mortal Kombat. You're playing as yourselves. Mm-hmm. How do you finish him?
Oh man. I think I just like repeat the same story so much that his head explodes.
Okay.
But is it like, are we talking about like OG fatalities?
Yeah. None of this, like, not the new modern pull the spine out, snap it in half, crunch it kind of thing. Fatality, babality, friendship, whatever.
Babality.
You remember that
yes,
one?
I do.
I like the babality.
Babality's adorable.
That was a good one.
Yeah, we'd have a friendship. That would be our
the friendship rainbow. That
Yeah.
was the like. Who did the friendship? Could you
could
do
do
it with
with any of them.
anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, the like guy with those sword arms.
Oh, okay, let's take friendship out of the equation. Now it's just fatality.
Babality.
No
right.
babality, just fatality.
So, but are you talking like an existing fatality or a new one?
Like
that
an original Mortal
original
Kombat
fatality.
fatality.
I would say if you find an old one in your memory that's applicable, or you can create one.
Oh, creating new
yeah.
fatalities.
So my one that I created is that I just repeat the same story and it just sonically like attacks.
But
his
which
face,
story?
Then his head explodes.
Which story?
Oh, that's a good. I don't know.
Which one do you like telling?
I can't even think. I'm on the spot. I can't think of any. So I don't.
Like getting dumped at the Sizzler twice?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes, getting dumped at Sizzler twice. That's one of my favorites. By the same girl, by the way.
That's a fatality to yourself.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
That was brutal. That sucks, dude. There's a lesson to the audience, and this is the most important thing you'll ever hear.
Don't go to Sizzler.
Don't take your girl to Sizzler. And then if she dumps you right after you go, but then you get back together because she wants to give another shot, don't take her to Sizzler again, which she immediately dumps you afterward for the second time.
But not to drag this out, we both have this fantasy where like we want to create this virtual reality 90s Sizzler, like basically like recreate the Sizzlers of our childhood,
like a nice Sizzler.
But it's nice,
Yeah.
not depressing. Like back when you were a kid,
Sure.
and you went to Sizzler, and it was like how you remember. It was probably shitty, but how you remember
The
it.
nostalgia of it. Yeah.
And it would be like a Sizzler theme park, like Sizzler theme, like virtual. I don't know. This could be virtual reality.
Yeah.
This could actually be, we could build this. Like if we ever got rich, we might just happen to build like
Build the fantasy Sizzler.
the fantasy Sizzler.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Right.
But we think about stuff like that,
Yep.
you know, and but my fatality, I don't know. I mean, like I always like the Raiden one where he's like shocking you, but then in your body kind of like they always kind of had this like.
Over. They didn't have like exploding capability in '95.
Yeah.
But the bodies would kind of just like dangle, like kind of like just they had like you just kind of like stand there, and you can't really see this on a podcast, but you can visualize
It's like a Parkinson's shuffle.
yeah, you kind of just like
Sorry, that's not appropriate, but yeah.
The drunken sailor.
I mean, that's the only one I can really remember, other than the like with the ripping the spine out.
The spine rip's a good one.
The spine rip. Who did the spine rip?
I don't know. In the new
Sub-Zero, I think.
Sub-Zero?
Or
He froze
Scorpion.
you, dude.
Scorpion.
Sub-Zero
Scorpion.
froze you.
Yeah.
Scorpion was like Sub-Zero's like
Twin.
brother.
Yeah, and
twin.
yeah. The
evil
like,
brother.
Evil brother, and he could shoot a
that
snake,
thing.
The spear.
a chain.
Hit the spear. Yeah. Spear chain.
Who had the chain?
Scorpion's my guy.
Scorpion.
Scorpion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah.
2 years ago, I went to GameStop or whatever, and it was like Mortal Kombat X or whatever it was.
Yeah. 25.
It was like
yeah.
$20. I'm like, yes, score. And I get it. The fatalities were so beyond brutal. Like,
Yeah.
I physically, like, I have a pretty strong stomach. I can't watch Saw, but,
Yeah.
like, I can see things like that and have no problem. And it was kind of shocking.
Like too elaborate. Like where it's like rip your head off, split the spine, eat the spine, and then shit it out on the ground, grow a farm and burn it down. Or
and
whatever.
all in slow motion.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, okay, it's too
And it was
elaborate.
like, wow, this is intense.
That is intense.
So
Oh, on that note,
That was Finishing Move. So go check out their score for Halo Wars 2 and go check out their instrument Posthuman and then check out all their other stuff too. It's cool. See you guys next week.